Hello students, today we will study about the next portion of ecosystem starting from the reproduction. The reproduction in the ecosystem plants takes place by the two ways. First, that is the vegetative reproduction. Second is the reproduction by spores, strobilus or cone. In vegetative reproduction, there are some species of ecosystem reproduce vegetatively by means of tubers, which often develop means tubers often develop from the branch primordia on the rhizome, and each tuber may be rounded, oval, example ecosystem arvens, or pear shaped, example ecosystem talmatelle. It has brownish, thick walled, scarancamatous outer covering forming a rind, rind, and the rind encloses thin walled parenchymatous cells filled with starch, and on the detachment of the tubers may grow into new plants. The tubers also serve the organs of pollination under unfavorable conditions. Next, that is the reproduction by spores. All the species of ecosystem are homosporous, means that is bears only one type of spores. The spores are produced inside the sporangia, borne on special structures called the sporangiophores, which are aggregated into definite strobili or cones. Next, that is the strobilus. The strobili or cones are borne terminally and singly either on ordinary vegetative branches, that is this, example in ecosystem Develli, ecosystem diffusium, or on special fertile axis, that is this, or example ecosystem arvens, that fertile branch are unbranched, non-chlorophyllous and short-lived. They die after the dispersal of spores, and also an intermediate state is reported by ecosystem salviticum and ecosystem pratense, where the fertile shoots are at first non-chlorophyllous and becomes green vegetative branches after shedding the spores and throwing off the strobili. Each strobilus consists of a thick central axis, that is this, around which the sporangiophores are arranged in whorls, that is this. The number of sporangiophores in each whorl may vary in different species. They are arranged in successive whorls, alternating with one another. The sporangiophores, that is, this is the sporangiophore. The sporangiophores are so tightly packed with each other that paltate heads acquire a polygonal or hexagonal in outline, that is this. In a young strobilus or cone, only the outer surface of the paltate heads of sporangiophore are visible. The apex of strobilus may be pointed or rounded in shape. In many species, a ring-like outgrowth is present at the base of strobilus called the annulus. It has annulus is regarded by many botanists as the last reduced whorl of style leaves, whereas others consider it to be sporangophoric in nature. There are some botanists consider it as a vestigial remainder of Calmatian bracts. Each sporangiophore is umbrella shaped, differentiated into a cylinder stalk, that is this, and expanded hexagonal or polygonal paltate disc. They are attached in whorls laterally on the cone axis with the help of cylinder stalks. The underside of paltate disc bears a variable number of elongated, cylindrical, sac-like sporangia. The sporangia are pendate, arranged in a ring, that is arranged in a ring towards the margin of paltate disc. The number of sporangia in each sporangiophore may vary from 5 to 10. There is a considerable agreement among the botanists that a strobilus is a modified terminal, that is a strobilus is a modified terminal part of axis, but the question where it is differentiated into nodes and internodes or not became controversial. Barrett B.A. RRATT 9 in 1920 reported that the strobilus is a modified shortened axis which is not differentiated into nodes and internodes. According to Browne, BROWNE, in 1912 to 1933, the strobilus is a condensed axis differentiated into nodes and internodes. It bears groups of sporangiophores at each node, and the theory of Browne has been accepted widely. Next, that is the sporangia. That is the sporangia. Each sporangium develops from single superficial cells, but the cells adjacent to it also contribute in the further growth. The development of sporangium is eusporangiate type, means that is originates from a group of cells. A mature sporangium is cylindrical, sac-like structure attached to the underside of sporangiophore disc. It has a rounded apex which points toward the cone axis. The jacket layer of sporangium The jacket layer of sporangium is two cell thick, uh, of which the wall of which the cells of outer layer shows spiral thickenings, and it encloses a large number of homosporous spores. That is this. Each sporangium bears a line of dehiscence towards the stalk of sporangiophore. Next, dehiscence of sporangium. At maturity, the axis of strobilus in between the whorls of sporangiophores that elongated that is elongated. It results loosening of the compactness of strobilus, and the whorls of sporangiophores are separated apart. The stalks of sporangiophores, that is the stalks of sporangiophores, also elongate so that the mature sporangia are exposed. The walls of sporangia lose water and shrink, resulted opening of sporangia along the line of dehiscence and form a longitudinal slits through which the spores are dispersed, and the spores are carried away by wind, entangled in clusters by means of elaters, by the wind, and in clusters by the help of the entangled elaters. Next, that is the spores. Equisteum is homosporous and produces only spores or the and the gametophytes. Equisteum is homosporous and produces only one type of spores, but Maclean and Cook in 1951 reported two kinds of spores in Equisteum arvens. Some are smaller and some were larger in diameter. Among the spores, the mean diameter differ by about 10 micrometer, but this difference of 10 micrometer is due to the effect of the drying. Duquette, Duckeet in 1970 did not observe any difference in their size. The spore of Equisteum is green, large, spherical in shape, and contains a large number of chloroplasts. It has no triradiate ridge. It is uninucleate, and the nucleus lies in the center of cytoplasm. The cytoplasm contains lipoproteins and lipid granules. The young spores have a thin wall of cellulose, but the mature spores have a thick wall differentiated into 4 layers. Students, listen, that is differentiated into 4 layers. The innermost layer is thin endospore, and that endospore is made up of cellulose. The endospore is enclosed by Second layer, that is the exospore, and other name of the exospore is exine. These two layer means endospore and exospore are deposited by spore protoplast. Outside the exospore is a cuticular layer called middle layer, and which is followed means middle layer is followed by outermost epipore. Beer BER observed that the middle layer and the epipore are formed by tapetal cytoplasm. The epipore forms the elaters. Next, that is the elaters. The epipore splits into two narrow bands, which are spirally coiled, and tightly wrapped around the spores, and it lies in the sporangium. These bands are attached to the spore wall at their middle points and take the form of X, that is form of X, and the four arms of X are spoon shaped and commonly called elaters or haptera, HAPTERA. On release of spores, the elaters separate and respond to change of humidity. They coil around the spore in moist air and uncoil in dry air. Such type of movement is called the hygroscopic movement. They respond to change of humidity similar as the elaters of bryophytes. Next, that is the function of the elaters. The elaters help in dispersal of sporangium at maturity. When the sporangia dry up, the elaters uncoiled and exert a pressure on sporangial wall, and they help splitting of the sporangium through a longitudinal slit. The elaters uncoil in dry air and become entangled with those of other spores. This helps a large number of spores to fall and germinate at the same place. This assures fertilization in dioecious prothalli, a group of spores entangled with each other by elaters. Such as a parachute means entangled with each other by elaters, such as a parachute, and blown away by wind to longer distance. Next, that is the gametophytes. The mature prothallus or the gametophytes. The mature prothalli of Equisetum attain different forms and structure depending upon the environmental conditions. Three distinct forms are usually reported. First, that is small, light green, elongated and branched protheli which produce only antheridia. Second, massive deep green protheli which produce only archegonia. Third, thick and massive protheli produce both the sex organs. A normal protheli of equisteum growing under favorable conditions are thyroid, dorsiventral, prostrate, prostrate, and dull brownish green in color. They rarely exceed 1 centimeter in diameter and 3 millimeter in height, including the including the erect branches. Although much larger forms have sometimes been found. A several o- a several months old protheli may be as much as 3 centimeter in diameter. They are long lived, persist for months and even up to 2 years in artificial conditions. Each mature prothallus is differentiated into two regions. First, that is the basal flat cushion-like disc, and upper, that is upper vertically elongated green lobes. The disc is thick and massive, made up of large parenchymatous cells without intercellular spaces. It has entire and meristematic margins. The cells of disc lack chloroplasts and filled with starch grains. It has a large number of unicellular, unbranched, smooth-walled, that is this, smooth-walled, hyaline rhizoids, which are arise from under surface and help to fix the gametophytes to the substratum. The upper spongy portion of the upper spongy portion consists of a number of vertical, erect, obliquely ascending lobes. These lobes are green and photosynthetic. They are broader at the base and gradually become thinner at the apex. The antheridia are borne on the margin or apex of erect lobes, whereas archegonia develop in the meristematic rim of disc. Nature of gametophyte. All the species of equisteum are homosporous but produces two types of gametophytes. Some remain yellowish or reddish, small, more or less folded, and develop only antheridia, while others become dark green, large, massive, and develop only archegonia. This represents the equisteum gametophytes are dioecious. But Castle, Castle, in 1957 observed in Equisteum arvens that the gametophytes bearing antheridia develop archegonia at the later stage, and those bearing archegonia develop antheridia if the fertilization is delayed. This shows this state, state shows that the equistem gametophytes are monoecious. These observations suggest that the equistem is monoecious but shows a tendency towards dioecision and an incipient type of heterospory. Next, that is the sex organs. All the species of equistem are monoecious under normal growing conditions, but shows a slight tendency of dioecision. The sex organs begin to develop when the protheli growing under uncrowded and favorable conditions become 30 to 40 days old. Usually the archegonia develop first and the antheridia develop later. Archegonia. Position. The archegonia are born embedded in a cushion like base of the prothallus, usually at the base and in between the vertical lobes. They are distributed over the upper surface of gametophyte. A nearly mature archegonium is embedded in the dorsal surface of prothallus with its basal portion sunken in the gametophytic tissue and the neck projected outside. The neck consists of 4 vertical rows of cells arranged in 2 to 4 tiers. The axial row consists of 2 boat-shaped neck canal cells lying side by side and a single ventral canal cell and a large egg. At maturity, the ventral canal cell and neck canal cells disintegrate and become mucilaginous. The 4 distal cells of neck elongate and bend backwards so that create a wide opening to entry or for entry the and spermatozoites. Next, that is the antheridia. The antheridia are marked by the presence of orange-red pigment developed in the chloroplasts of the antheridial jacket cells. They are produced in acropetal succession in both smaller and larger protheli. Usually, 2 types of antheridia are produced in equistem. One, the embedded type, and second, the projecting type. In embedded type of antheridia means the embedded type of antheridia are usually larger and develop on the massive parts in normal types of gametophytes, whereas the projecting type of antheridia are smaller and produced on the margin or apexes of vertical lobes in prothalli growing under starved crowded conditions. Structure of mature antheridium. Each antheridium is globular in shape. It may be embedded in the massive gametophytic tissue of prothallus or borne on the margins. The body of antheridium consists of 3 to 5 cells, single layer jacket, that is single layer jacket, and that jacket encloses a mass of anthrozoids. Each anthrozoid or spermatozoid is about 20 micrometer long and is spirally coiled. It is twisted into a left handed screw of 3 gears and divided into 3 parts: the anterior crown of flagella, the nucleus, second the nucleus, and the third is the posterior vesicle. It is multiflagellate and bears about 100 flagella attached to an anterior band called the stalk. The nucleus and the blephroplast comprises the major portion of the body. The vesicle containing the remaining portion of cytoplasm is attached to the posterior coil of anthrozoid. The liberated anthrozoids swim freely in the film of water of at about 300 micrometer per second in a helicoid path. Next, that is the fertilization. Fertilization depends upon the presence of a film of water. The anthrozoids liberate from antheridia and swim in the film of water. In the mature archegonium, the ventral canal cell and neck canal cells disintegrate and become mucilaginous. The anthrozoids are attracted chemotactically by the malic acid present in the mucilage and reach towards the open neck of mature archegonium. Finally, many anthrozoids enter into the neck and only one of them becomes success to fuse with the egg. The haploid or spermatozoid and haploid egg fuse to form a diploid zygote. Usually more than one archegonia, 8 to 10 in Equisetum debelli, get fertilized and develop many normal sporophytes in the same prothallus. Next, that is the embryo and development of sporophytes or young sporophyte. The diploid zygote is the first cell of sporophytic generation. Zygote remains embedded within the venter of archegonium. Along with the development of embryo, wall of venter also grow and forms 2 to 3 layered calyptra. The development of embryo is exosporic. Due to successive divisions, and differentiation produce young sporophyte. The initial development of sporophyte depends upon the prothallus till the production of first three green leaves and primary root. After producing 3 to 4 aerial branches, rhizome of unlimited growth develops and grows prostrate. It produces aerial erect branches and subterranean branches. Primary roots are replaced by adventitious roots, and finally sporophyte become totally independent plants. Students, the topic of ecosystem is finished in with this video, and in the next video we will study about the last plant, that is the terrace. Thank you.